This webinar is titled Unrestricted Warfare. What is it? Everything's a weapon. Well, we're taking additional steps in your red pill rabbit hole. Well, we've taken a look at the art of war, how centuries of its thinking has guided the influence of America's enemies, the naked communist and decades worth of work, and now this webinar will take a look at a 1990s book, Unrestricted Warfare, and the question still remains, will we wake up? Well, in the 2015 Tom Cruise movie, War of the Worlds, machines planted in Earth decades, maybe even centuries before, had lightning bolts that delivered their operators to them. And this is much what has happened with the tactics that have been used over the last several decades and how they relate to the more modern thinking of unrestricted warfare. Take over the institutions of the state, said Gramsci, and even the institutions which are not ordinarily deemed to be directly part of the state. And by doing that, you will have a long march through the institutions. And so that's been going on for decades, to the point that in the 2020s, it was 90% complete. In 1999, the book Unrestricted Warfare that was produced in China was actually translated into English, and it's a sobering study on war in the modern era. It's translated from the People's Liberation Army of the Chinese Communist Party, and it was written by two of their up-and-coming leaders, Kuai Lang and Wang Xingzhu. It was released in February of 1999. Kuai Lang is a military theorist, author, and is retired Major General in the People's Liberation Army, and Wang was a professor at Beihang University in Beijing and a retired senior colonel in the People's Liberation Army. They said this: war itself has changed. War will no longer be what it was originally. War will no longer be carried out in the ways with which we are familiar. The first rule of unrestricted warfare is that there are no rules, with nothing forbidden. The two boundaries lying between war and non-war, of military and non-military, will be totally destroyed. The end result of war is to compel an enemy to accept your interest. Previously, this was done through lethal force. Now it might be any combination of dozens of non-lethal methods. Unrestricted warfare means opening your mind to anything and everything that will help you subdue your enemy and get them to do what you want them to do, ideally without them really realizing what has happened, and many times unable to respond. My summary of this book. So unrestricted warfare produces new paradigms of warfare, and I want to quote the book itself here for a few slides to give you a feel for what is being talked about. They said this: coasting along in their mental orbit, people have not yet noticed that a certain conspicuous yet very important change is stealthily approaching. Warfare evolves endlessly. We find ourselves in a stage where a revolutionary leap forward is taking place in weapons, going from weapon systems symbolized by gunpowder to those symbolized by information. The most modern military force does not have the ability to control public clamor, and cannot deal with an opponent who does things in an unconventional manner. So this is the thought that they're introducing into the new century of warfare. They continue, to understand new concepts of warfare demands lucid and incisive thinking. However, this is not a strong point of the Americans, who are slaves to technology in their thinking. The Americans invariably halt their thinking at the boundary where technology has not yet reached. Profound comments for sure. Here's how they define the new concept weapon. They say this: there is nothing in the world today that cannot become a weapon. And this requires that our understanding of weapons must have an awareness that breaks through all boundaries, meaning we need to introduce a whole new way of thinking about warfare. And here's how they describe new concept weapons. Technology is no longer the main factor. The true underlying factor is a new concept or a new way of thinking. How to get your enemy to do what you want. New concept weapons can be closely linked to the lives of common people. Future warfare will be elevated to a level which is hard for the common people or even military men to imagine. Ordinary people and military men alike will be greatly astonished at the fact that commonplace things, hear that? Commonplace things that are close to them can become weapons. They continue. Massive nuclear weapons will fade from being used. What's the point of defeating the enemy if it means risking the destruction of the world? Technology progress has given us the means to strike at the enemy's nerve center directly without harming other things, giving us numerous new options for achieving victory. And all these things make people believe that the best way to achieve victory is to control, not to kill. Again, profound thoughts in a new paradigm of warfare thinking. So much so that one of these generals says World War III had already started, in an article from 2019 hearkening back to a statement that he made in 2015. There's a whole new weapon set deployed in 2008 that even was done after this book was written. Consider this new weapon set, a whole new potential weapon set deployed with all the advent of these technological marvels that we are astounded by, and yet, as they've already said, they're close to the people and can be weaponized. Take a look at the movie The Social Dilemma to find out more of what I mean. So the best way to achieve victory, they say, is to control, not kill. And that potential weapon set that I just showed you on the screen of technological advancement is a part of how we can be controlled but not killed. This is unrestricted warfare. Everything's a weapon. This is U.S. Civics Training. Thanks for listening.